Hey everyone, today we'll be working with React Native and we'll be setting up our environments to work with Android and iOS. We'll be creating emulators for both Android and iOS and we'll be connecting them to React Native Debugger. React Native Debugger is an external app, an all-in-one tool that allows you to debug your app. So you can take a look into Redux, you can take a look into the inspector and change the styles of your elements or components, and you can also take a look into the network tab where you can see the endpoints you are calling and also the console where you can see every logs that your app writes. Along the way, I will be also providing some tips on how to better install dependencies, namely Java and Node dependencies, using version managers instead of going with the default way that is the recommended way by React Native. Okay, cool. Let's start. So first I'm going to React Native Setup and we go to the first link, setting up the development environment. So you go and we will follow the instructions here and I will give you some tips. So the React Native CLI Quick Start is the one we will be doing, and we will do for macOS and both Android and iOS. Let's start with Android. So first, we will need to install Node, Watchman, React Native, JDK, Android Studio, and we will start with Node and Watchman. So let's start. We use Brew here. We will not do install of Node like this. We will use the package management for Node, which is much better because then you can switch between Node versions. But we will need to install the Watchman, and that's available on Brew. So let's start by installing Brew. So Brew install, and first things you go here and then you just copy paste this one in your terminal that you use. So let's go. It will open the terminal, then I paste this and it asks for a password, and then that's it. Press and let's see when it finishes. Cool. So installation successful. So now we have Brew, so we can just remove this one and start by installing Watchman. And here we just need to do Brew install Watchman, and let's see, it should install. Now it's downloading, so I will wait. Okay, so now after some time, Watchman is installed. In my case, it was already installed, so I just updated, but that's okay. So now we have Node, and then we will need to install Java. But let's first start with Node. And first tip, let's use a package manager for Node. So I will say nvm node, and we should see this Node version manager. That's what we want. And then install something like this, and then we can copy paste this one. So it will install nvm, which is this version manager for Node, version manager for Node. And then the nice thing is that you can switch between versions using nvm. And so if you need another version for another project, you just switch it there and you are good. So let's go. I can just do this and install it. It's already installed, so now, it's doing just rewriting a couple of things in my bash, or not bash, zshrc. So if you go there, you will see that you have come on, yes, zshrc. So if you go there, you will see that you have these ones there. So this is the way they execute then nvm and put here some loads nvm, etc. So now what you need to do is to export it. So source it, sorry. So you source your I think they do it automatically, but you can always do that. So if you source it, then in this terminal you have already nvm. And then what we need to do is to use one specific version of Node. So if I go there, I know that the version of Node that we need is Node 14 or newer. So now if I do nvm list Node, I know that I have the version 16.15, so I'm good to go. So otherwise you will need to do, for example, imagine that I want the version 14. I can just do npm install and then 14. So now I will get the Node version, the last version of Node 14, and this is it. So now if I do, after this completes, if I do nvm list node, I should have another one. So for example, let's do nvm list. So now I am using the 1419 on this one. And you can also do nvm use default 16, for example, and then it will swap the default version. So now it's using the 16 version again, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, cool. Explore nvm, that's a nice one. But now we have 16, so we have a higher version that they recommend, so it's okay. Let's go now for Java. Java, we have the similar version manager, Java version manager, which I think it's really cool that you install. So now if I search for Java SDK Man, I should find SDK Man here. And then pretty much let's go probably here, install latest version. No, this is for installing the version, local version. This is also to install stuff. So how do I get... How do I install SDK? Let's search install. Come on. Install. Yeah, good. So yeah, if you do that, now we can just install. And the idea will be to curl again this one. And then we should be able to get it there. So let's do curl something something. I guess I all done. So I think I already have that. So now if I do SDK not found, cool. So that's because probably I need to do this also. And you also need to do that just to source the files that they have. And now if we do it, now they can find. So okay, now we have the SDK man. So what I want to do is SDK list Java probably. Yes, that's it. And now I want to go down and see what I have installed. So if you see, there are different versions. I think they want you to use Zulu, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so called Zulu using Homebrew. So yeah, we can also use that one, but we are not installing through Brew, because then it will only have one version. So that's nice to be able to switch. So what I will do is try to figure out which is the Java version, the one they need. It's make sure it's JDK 11, and I'm not an M1 Mac. I'm not using an M1 Mac, so I can either way use wherever I want. But OpenJDK Zulu offers JDKs for both. So if you install that, then you are good to go. So what I want to do is now JDK 11, so I know that this is one of the versions. So you need to copy this description here, the one at the right. Let's go with this version 11, and I can do SDK install Java and then pass that one. So now I'm downloading it and I will be installing this one, and then I can select this one to use it. Of course, if you need another version for another project, even if you are not using React Native, you could switch it when you are not using that. So it's really a powerful tool, because otherwise you need to install the whole thing again, and yeah, that's not good. If you can switch it easily, that's really much better. So cool. Now, as you see here, setting Java 11 Zulu as default. So we are good to go, basically. And so we can move to the next one. And also what we want to do first is to see Java version, which I think is like this. And now, yes, now it's verifying. and here it is. So now you have OpenJDK 11. This is the Zulu. So yeah, we are good to go. If you switch this one on the SDK, then you will have other versions here, but it's much easier to switch. So let's go. Android development environment. So what we want to do here is to download and install Android Studio. And you can just basically install it going through Android, like just search Android Studio, download, and you should be able to just go to the official website and then just download Android Studio. And probably, yes, you need to accept and install for your Mac if you have an Intel chip or Mac with Apple chip. So yeah, choose either one and you can find that information in About This Mac. So in About This Mac, you should see somewhere, I think this is an Intel one, and so probably in the M1 Max, you will, the Apple chip, you will have something here different. So yeah, then you install it, you just get it, this one, for example, and yes, you install it. Then next, and you are good to go, right? So with the defaults, and that's okay. Just do with the defaults, and then you can, every time after you do that, you can set it up for React Native. So let's do it. I can see here that, yeah, they advise you to download and install, then Android SDK, SDK platform, Android virtual device. And what we basically want to do is requires, so we, to build the React Native app, you need Android 11 in particular. So the R version, which is okay. And I will show you what to do. And then we also have to install SDK platform 30, and the 30.02 on the build tools. So I will show you what they mean here. So let's go Android Studio. And the nice way to do it is to open the Android Studio and then select the SDK Manager. Let's see. Okay, so now for this one, which I find really annoying, you can just do configure SDK Manager, but I will also tell you, so for example here, you go directly through the Android SDK and now you can install whatever you want. So that's a way to do it. Another way is if you are inside any project. So let's start a project, because you could open your React Native Android folder here, right? But I'm just going to start one project. I can say, yeah, it doesn't matter too much here because I'm not using this one. I'm just using this one to start one project on Android Studio. And yeah, now it's downloading and loading the project, the new one I created, which doesn't matter for now, but you could open your React Native project here on Android Studio. And the idea is that you can go here, and if you go and press this one, you will have the same opened window. So, okay, why don't you go away? Cool, it doesn't go away. Oh, because I have this one open. Nice. So if you go there in this box with the arrow, blue arrow pointing down, you can go to the same one. From here, we need to install first the R version. So that's okay. We select that one, and now it says it's it wants to download this version, and you can also show package details. But for that one, I want to go here to the SDK tools, show package details, and then you can select the version that you want. So in this case, we have the 30.02 installed. So otherwise you put it there and you will get the download after you apply all of these. So that's another one that we need to select. And yeah, then we also need these ones. So Intel x86 Atom 64 system image and Google API's Intel x86 Atom system image. So let's see, where do we find that? It's somewhere in here. You get Intel. This is also nice to put it because it's used by the simulators. And the other ones they mentioned are somewhere. This one and the other one is Google APIs Intel. This one. Okay, so we have everything set up. And now if I do next or apply, then you get all of these to download, and you just press OK, and then they start to install a couple of things. Okay, cool. So now everything is installed, so we just need to do finish, and basically we can do OK, and I can just close these. And of course, you can just then uninstall this if you went through this one flow where I mentioned. Otherwise, you can just go here and select Sdk Manager. So now what I want to do is I don't want to completely close this Android Studio, because I want to go here and let's see this line here. So we want to make sure that you copy pasted this one to your bash or ZS HRC terminal configuration file, basically. So we go to the last line of the file and we press I to insert for the insert mode, and then we can just paste, copy and paste here the file. Escape, colon, shift, colon, and then WQ. So if you do that, you will write your file. I will and press enter, and you will kit. What I will do now is just kit, because I don't want to save this one because I already did it. Okay, cool. So now if you have that in your ZS HRC configuration, now you just need to source it again. So you basically will load your configuration file, and everything will be read again, right? So then you will have these exports in your accessible through your terminal. So that's cool. Okay, so that's the thing. And now what we need to do is try to run an application in an emulator. So we will need to first create one Android, one React Native example. So let's pick this one and just do this. I will go to CD desktop. I will create now, paste this command, and here you will need to remove these, and I will call setup project. So I will create a React Native project called setup project with a template, React Native template TypeScript, which will create your React Native project using TypeScript. So that's okay. Let's wait for the command to run, and I will come back to you. Okay, so now in the middle of the configuration, we have basically something saying that we don't have Cocoapods installed, and that we need that for iOS project. So what we will do is just say yes with jam may require sudo. That's okay, that's fine. Let's install Cocoapods. Now we should have a setup project here, which is a React Native project with everything. So you have the Android, iOS folders, and the project folder with the React Native code. So the thing now, just to explain, the Cocoapods that you installed is more or less the same as the npm on the root project, right? So you have a package JSON, you use npm to install dependencies. The Cocoapods or the pods command, it's used on the iOS folder, and the same you can find the similar tool like Gradle for the Android folder. So just to give you this hint. And now we have the project, so now we can try to run this project on the Android device. But for that, we need first to create a AVD, right? So how do you do that? You open, so when you create the first time, you need to go to Android Studio and create the AVD. Then you will start the AVD from Android Studio, and then you will run the app from the terminal, and that app will load inside the Android, the AVD or the emulator. After that, you don't need anymore the Android Studio. So the first time you will need it, after you don't. So let's go Android Studio, then you can go here and you go to AVD Manager, or you open one project or even the React Native project and you go there. So now you see here that I have an AVD, even though now they say that you can select the API level 30. So before probably they said something about 29. So, but yeah, let's create another one. I can create a virtual device. Now I can select whatever I want. I typically don't select the last ones because they are eager, and I think that, yeah, I don't need that. So, and maybe it's a little bit faster, I don't know, when you load the emulator. So I can do a pixel 2, it's fine, or even pixel. And then next. So, and here you need to download the R version, because now they ask you for that, right? The 30. So yeah, let's keep updating every time the APIs. And so I can install now the 30, and I will wait a bit. Okay, cool. Now I have everything installed, so I can finish. And now we can select this version, the R version with the API level 30. And we can hit next. Yes, I will keep this name. I say portrait, that's fine, and that's it. So now if I hit finish, I am creating now the Android virtual device. So this is the one, and as you see, it's a new one because there's no data there now. The older version that I have here, it's consuming more size on disk, and now we can just start the emulator the first time. So it's starting in the background, and we can close this one and also close this one. Can close this, and we should be seeing the emulator in a moment. And after that, we will start our application. So there's one thing that I want to say about this npx. So npx is a tool, a command that basically allows you to run any command, but the trick is that it will download first this command. So the React Native, for example, here will be downloaded first, and then it will run the React Native start. But if you do this every time, then you are downloading React Native. It doesn't make sense. But if you go to your package.json in the project, so for example, if I do code here to open Visual Studio Code, one editor, if I go to package.json, I can see that here you have these Android and iOS commands, right? So you can run them from here directly. And so you don't need every time to load them through npx. And the thing is that React Native is installed in your npm install if you do it here, right? So what you can do is you create your project, and then in your terminal of choice, so I can go back, I can just say npm install, and probably it's already installed because we created the project, and it installs them there. But I can run that, and what we will do is after just run the commands directly in the project. So let's see the AVD. Okay, so after a bit of time, since it's the first time the emulator opens and starts, basically you need to wait a bit, and now you can see we have a fully functional phone here. So now what we can do is indeed start our basically our project. So let's start by creating here a couple of windows. So I can do Command D and Command Shift D. If you use iTerm, you can do that. And what I will do is expand this a bit. So here I will do npm install. We did it. So run start. And this will run Metro. Metro is the one responsible for bundling your code, the JavaScript code or React Native code, and sending that to the emulator. And it will keep listening for changes on your files, and it will every time you change something, it will send to the Android or iOS emulator. So now I can do on the other side, I will go to desktop, then to the setup project, and now I can do npm run, and now I will do Android. So I have the emulator open, so I run Android, and it will load your application in the emulator. So now you need also to wait a bit. This typically in the first runs takes more time, then it will be a little bit smoother. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so now we have the app was installed inside the emulator. So what I want to tell you is that you can read these ones here, and you can do double tap or inside the emulator to reload the app. So it basically reloads your app. Another thing that is really cool on Android, you can hit Command M inside your simulator, and you will have the menu, the debug menu. So you can go to settings, you can enable sampling profiler, you can do debug. You can show the performance monitoring, show the element inspector and change bundle location or reload the app also. But I want to install one thing that I really like to use and connect this emulator to a debugger. So let's go to Google and ask for React Native Debugger. And this is one app that I found and I really like to use it, called React Native Debugger. So let's go there and see how to install this. So we have here, we can do this one. So we will install through Brew the React Native app debugger, and then we can use that debugger to debug our app instead of using the one that will open by default in your Chrome DevTools. So let's wait a bit. Okay, so now we have the React Native Debugger app installed. Okay, so now I want you to do something. So in our setup project, there's a little thing that we need to do. So you need to add these overrides because React DevTools core, it's pointing in the new React Native to 4.24, and React Native Debugger is still using 4.14. So you need to do this override, and then we need to go back. First, we need to remove node modules. And now that we remove the node modules, we can do npm install. So now with this npm install, you will not have any more the 4.24 React DevTools core, and it will use the override, so 4.14. And then if both of them are using the same version, they can communicate. So the emulator and React Native Debugger can communicate. Maybe in the future they will update the version on React Native Debugger app, and then you can just remove it and use whatever new version we need to use. So now it should npm install, and after that I just want to load the app and start everything from scratch. So let's see. Okay, cool. So it finished. So npm install is done. So now what we need to do is npm run start to start the Metro, and I will do also npm run Android so that it goes to our emulator. Let's wait a bit. And in the meantime, let's open React Native Debugger app. So it's loading, and we also have a tempting recognition waiting for client connection on port 8081. This is what we want. So here we have the console. Everything that you console on the app will appear here. Then you have the network, which will list all endpoint calls, all calls, HTTP calls that you do. And for that, you need to right-click on the app and enable Network Inspect so that you can see them here. You also have this window here that tells you everything about Redux, so state, actions, everything. And this is nice, and Redux is nice. It's a state management client library, so I advise you to use Redux in your apps if the app is complex enough, because it really makes it easy to navigate between screens, share state between screens, and also client states state, which is cool. And here we have the inspector. So every time you inspect in the emulator and you click on texts, I will show you that after. For example, in a text component, if you click there, you will see here the styles and where is it in the hierarchy, the tree hierarchy, where is it this component that you clicked on. So then you can, for example, style here and see the changes on the app, which is really cool for debugging. Okay, cool. So the build is successful, and we should have now in our emulator the app. So let's wait a bit. We should see here the app. Okay, it's bundling now, so let's wait a bit. Okay, so we have the app loaded here, and what I want to do is Command M so that we can open the settings and make it connect to the React Native Debugger. So local host 8081, it's the port this one is listening. So we will call there, and now we should just hit again Command M so that we can say debug. And now if we debug, we should see this one connected, so the inspector is getting connected. We should also go to console, and we should see test console log. So now why I am seeing that, because I would like you to add this console log here. So if you do this use effect here, you will call these every time you reload the app, so the test console log is getting there. So this is to prove that there's communication between React Native Debugger and our app, so that you can see on the debugger, which is really cool. And now I want also to tell you a little bit more about the menus. So we have the settings menu, and we also have something about element inspector. And this is also nice because I can click here, and after I click here, I see this inspect, perf, network, touchables, but instead of seeing everything in here, we can see it here, which is much clearer. So if I click, for example, on step 1, you see that now I see step 1 highlighted, and I also see the text here. So if I go to the text component on the top, and if I resize that window a little bit so that you can also take a look into the emulator, now, for example, I can take a look into the styles of the text. So if I go here to the styles here, I can check the styles, which is really awesome because you can debug a little bit better. But now if I come here and just say 48 and press enter, then you see 48 here. So sometimes if you want to debug and lay out your screens a little bit better, this is nice because you can already see what will happen if you change this style in your app code. But yeah, this is really awesome. And the Redux part, it's also nice when you use Redux because you can see the state and the actions that were dispatched there. So this is also a nice view. And of course, you have the console and the network where you can check every console log on the console and the network requests in the network tab. So pretty much that's it. Okay, so now let's go into iOS. So if you come back to the setting up development website, then you can go to iOS and you see that pretty much everything is the same. So Node is already there, Watchman is already there, so we can jump ahead to Xcode. And yeah, for installing Xcode, you go to the Mac App Store and you just install Xcode with all defaults, and you basically do next, and you are fine. So after, we can open Xcode. So let's do it. Open Xcode and wait a bit. And we need to go for some changes here. And the Cocoapods were already installed before when we did the first installation, and then we already have an app created, so that's also cool. And pretty much that's it. And I will also tell you how do you open the menu, the debug menu, from iOS Emulator. So let's create an emulator and let's connect and set up these preferences. Okay, so now I have this welcome to Xcode, and I can just open Snack Bar, for example, one project that I did before. Okay, so I can see now Snack Bar is loading, so I can go to Xcode and then Preferences and take a look into the locations and try to see if we have everything the same as in here. So default, Xcode, command line tools, and we should be good enough. Yes, that's fine. And then we should now go and try to go to the Components tab to install emulators or simulators. So let me see. Simulators, check and install now. Let's wait a bit. Okay, cool. So now, as you see, we have a couple of simulators that we can install. And so, for example, let's see, I have here the 15 simulator, so I could install the latest one, and I just need to click in here, put my password, and then you will see that this one will load and install. This takes time because it's 5 gigabytes. Okay, so now after you have your iOS simulator installed, then you can just go to your project, and instead of doing npm run Android, you just do npm run iOS, and it will load the project into your simulator. So now I'm loading here into iPhone 13. Let's see and wait a bit. Okay, cool. So now we have the app here, and the little difference that we have here is that to open a debug menu, you need to do Command plus D instead of Command plus M. So if I do Command plus D, I can see here, and there's a little difference. Instead of going to Settings, you need to go to Configure Bundler. And on this menu, you need to say local host, and then here 8081, and apply changes. So now, as you see, it's reloading, and hopefully it will be connected now to this one. So if I reload, attempting reconnection. So I think we need to basically restart this one. Sometimes it happens, it gets stuck. So now if I do this, it's saying waiting. If I reload, now if I do Command D, I need to say debug, and now it will connect here. Okay, cool. Do you see? So now it's connected, now it printed here, and the same applies for everything that I explained for the Android version. So that's it pretty much. So now you should be all set. You can create apps, you can debug them, and you can run them on emulators both on iOS and Android. Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comments down below. Till next time, keep in the loop.